Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. I think right now, judging on the time we have, I wanted to forward on to talk about types of magic. And in types of magic, you can go into a lot of detail and you can say insanity and breaking up between husband and wife and love and many different types of detail. But what I actually want you to look at it from is the perspective of the magician in their books. How do magicians define magic in their books? Magic in the books of the magicians is divided into two major groups with some subgroups off on the side. The two major groups that magic is defined as by the magicians themselves in their books is sarfun wa atf. Sarfun is to turn someone away from something, to repel someone from something, to break up husband and wife, to cause someone to hate, to cause someone to break apart, to cause a family to break apart, to cause a child to hate their mother, to cause someone to turn away or to separate away from someone else. So separation, dividing, pushing people away, turning people away. But not just people, turning the jinn away from people as well. This is also a type of sarf. In other words, they will make a ta'weed that will turn the certain jinn away from others. You're being afflicted by the jinn and you go to a magician and you say to the magician, there's a jinn who's bothering me. He will make you an amulet that will push the jinn away by using other jinn. What's the problem with this? Because he's going to do so by committing kufr and by asking you to support him in committing kufr and by asking you to be involved in committing kufr. Go and bring me this, go and bring me this to be sacrificed. Hold the knife, hold the bird, sacrifice it to other than Allah Azza wa Jal. So you would lose your dunya and your akhirah if you had agreed to do so. But my point in this is that this separation or the magic of turning away that the magicians talk about, we are not just talking about separating between husband and wife, between children and their parents, but between also separating and pushing, repelling things, pushing things away from them, pushing the jinn away, pushing people away, pushing things away, separating. Atf is the opposite. Atf is all about bringing things together. Bringing things together. And this is the second major type of magic that is mentioned in the books of the magicians. And yes, you can subcategorize it into causing love and into bringing families together and causing, and supporting conception and all of these other things you can do. But essentially, what is atf? It's about bringing things together. And bear in mind that magic brings no good. But that the magician will encourage the jinn to bring two people together who hated each other. Or a woman has divorced her husband and he's gone to another woman. What will the magician do? He will make a charm for repelling the new wife from the first husband, and another charm, or integrate into the charm, bringing the old wife back together with the husband. So we have the magic that is to do with repelling and pushing away, and the magic that is to do with bringing things together. Bringing things together that were once apart, healing rifts that were once built, and they bring no good. They bring nothing but evil. This thing that they bring, it does not come with any good. It doesn't end up with a happy family. It ends up with all of them separated. Because Allah Azza wa Jal said, وَلَا يُفْلِحُ السَّاحِرُ حَيْثُ أَتَى. The magician will never be successful. He will destroy all of the families, even when he's trying to bring people together, or it will work for a limited amount of time. How often do we see people go and get a ta'weed from a magician and they say, oh, I had relief. The jinn left me, I feel so much better. Give them a year, give them 6 months, give them 2 months, they'll be back again. It didn't work, it's gone back, it's worse than it was before. Because the shayateen, ba'duhum awliya'u ba'd. They are helpers of each other, supporters of each other. They say, come on, you've made them happy for a while, now come on, let's join up and let's make them really miserable. It doesn't bring any good. The other types of magic that are mentioned in the books of the magicians specifically, magic to repel, magic to bring together, magic to protect the magician from the jinn. And this is a kind of sarf and atf as well. It's a kind of repelling and bringing together. That's why I said these are supplementary categories, is that what they will do is bring jinn to them, which are so-called protectors, and push away jinn from them that are there to harm them. Does it work? We just saw the guy whipping himself on the video. We heard the story of the magician who lives in a bathtub full of feces. وَلَا يُفْلِحُ السَّاحِرُ حَيْثُ أَتَى. The magician will never be successful wherever he goes. From the types of sihr that is mentioned in the books of the magicians is medicine. Sihr that has a medical purpose, to fix something that went wrong, or to sort of undo something medically. And this is mentioned. And again, this is more like a kind of bringing together, that they will bring the jinn. If someone has a bad heart, they will bring the jinn into the person to try to steady the rhythm of the person's heart. And وَلَا يُفْلِحُ السَّاحِرُ حَيْثُ أَتَى. The magician will never, ever, ever be successful. Whatever they try to do, it's going to fail. And of course, the worst kind of separation and the strongest kind is the magic of killing. And this is mentioned in the books of the magicians, and it's mentioned within the sunnah as being the magic that was done to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The magic that was done by Labid ibn al-A'sam was magic to kill. Magic to kill. Subhanallah. So we have lots of other types of magic and subcategories, but broadly we're looking at repelling things, bringing things together, protection, medicine, and killing, and those three are kind of subcategories in a way to a certain extent. And again, the magician mixes. They make a ta'weed that contains the magic that is related to separation, and a ta'weed that relates to bringing people together. Bring me some jinn, push some others away. Bring me one person, divorce the other one. Break up one family, bring the next family in. This is the kind of stuff that they do. And we're going to learn in the next module, inshallah, that each of these type of magic has a specific number associated with it. When you will open the magic charms, you will see the number that is associated, and by counting the numbers, or the number of squares, or the number of the numbers the squares add up to, or by counting the number of needles or the number of pins in the voodoo doll, you will be able to tell what the magic was done for. Example, the number 7 is associated with bringing people together. You find a voodoo doll with 7 pins. It wasn't done to kill someone, and it wasn't done to harm them. It was done to protect them. You find a rope with 7 knots. It was done to protect them, and it doesn't protect them against anything, because the magician will never be successful. So each of these has a number associated with it in the books of magic. We went with our Sheikh Adil al-Muqbil to Cornwall, to the Museum of Magic. Subhanallah, we found the same numbers, the same information, the same categories with the magicians in Cornwall as the magicians in Saudi Arabia. And we saw videos from Indonesia, and the same numbers with the magicians in Indonesia, and the same in Africa, and the same in South America. Kufr is one religion, ya ikhwan. Kufr is one religion. And you can divide it if you like into this and this and this, but kufr is one religion in the end of the day. There are 2 religions. There is Islam and there is disbelief. The magicians cooperate. بَعْضُهُمْ أَوْلِيَاءُ بَعْضٍ. They cooperate with each other in this field. We've talked quite a lot about how one becomes a magician, and we've shown you a good number of the videos. I would like to show you a couple more that I think it's a good idea for us to show now. One regarding fortune telling. I'm going to just pop this over here. And this one is all to do with fortune telling. So it's showing, and this is in Cornwall, we took the video, it's showing the instruments that are used for fortune telling. Look what is written above the pan on the top left corner. It's a pan with a mirror in it, and they use it as a reversed mirror for you to see your future in the mirror, and you don't see anything of the future, and they simply mix the lies that they hear from the heavens. But this pan, what is written around it? Jibrail, Mikael, Israfil, Azrail. Go and open any ta'weed from the ta'weed of the Muslims, and this is in a non-Muslim museum, it's written in English. Gabriel, Michael, Azrael, Israfil. The names of the angels are written around exactly the same as the ta'weed that your so-called sheikh gives you from the masjid. Exactly the same. The fortune tellers. The mirror, they're supposed to show you their future in it. There's a pan in the bottom corner. That pan is for burning the coals. And they throw the coals down, and whatever the picture the coals make, they tell you what is going to be in your future. They use it to find things that have got lost. They ask the jinn, where is this car that was stolen? And so what they do is, they bring ashes, they burn paper, or they burn charcoal, and they mix the ashes up, or they read in the tea leaves, and they say that this has happened. This is a type of sihr, ya ikhwan. This is a type of sihr that the Prophet ﷺ said, whoever goes to a fortune teller, and he does not believe in him, he doesn't accept it, he goes just to see what he's going to do, his prayer is not accepted for 40 days. You read your horoscope just for a laugh, your prayer is not accepted for 40 days. You go to watch a magician on stage, just let's see, we don't believe in it, alhamdulillah, we're Muslim. Your salah is not accepted for 40 days. And if you believe in him, فَقَدْ كَفَرَ بِمَا أُنزِلَ عَلَى مُحَمَّدٍ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ. He disbelieved in what was revealed to Muhammad. If you believe in the fortune teller, you disbelieve in what was revealed to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If you read it for entertainment, your prayer is not accepted for 40 days. And this same thing, ya ikhwan, from the English museum, from the same place, the same people. You want to see what a magician does? Let's have a look at this video of what this magician does. Let's have a look at, first of all, this thing that you can see here. I'm going to pause it. I'm just going to pass it across. It's very difficult to see. It's very bright on my screen and it's a bit dull on the monitor. But here, what is here is there is a stone. And written on it is what? The same stones that are mentioned in the Harry Potter book, found being used by magicians to come close to the shaitan. The same stones that are used in the books of Harry Potter that they mention, the stone of life and the same stone description used by the magicians to come near to the shaitan. So you want your children to become magicians? You let them watch Harry Potter. They'll learn a great deal about how to disbelieve in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But that's not what I wanted to show you more than anything from this video. What I wanted to show you is, and I hope we can see it, and subhanAllah, it's actually, Allahu musta'an, it's not befitting to show in a masjid. And subhanAllah, we only complain to Allah Azza wa Jal. I will try to take away some of the worst of it. But this is the use of fahisha, the use of filth and immorality and sexual intercourse to come near to the shaitan. And I'm going to try to find, if I can, in this video, there are pictures of male genitalia that the magicians use in coming near to the shaitan. These are some of the idols of the shayateen that they use to come near to the shaitan, some of the faces of the shayateen that they make to bring themselves near to the shaitan. And likewise, on this same display, there are these, here we go, these images of male genitalia that they use to insert into somebody as a part of the magic. These people they don't, like Allah says, لا يرقبون في مؤمن إلا ولا ذمة. They don't respect iman, they don't respect your family, they don't respect anything. The only thing these people respect, the only thing they do is to worship the shaitan and to disbelieve in Allah Azza wa Jal. Can you imagine that when you go to that so-called pious person to give you a ta'weed, he puts the ta'weed inside of an image of a male genitalia and he uses it for what he uses it for. And don't think that he uses it on women either. From Aleister Crowley, that we know that Aleister Crowley said, this magician, that he said, I didn't become a magician until I practiced homosexuality. They're not content with zina. Zina is for people who might repent. For a magician, it's not zina, it's incest, it's homosexuality, it's child abuse. This is what magicians do. They have no limit. لا يرقبون في مؤمن إلا ولا ذمة. There's no limit to, there's no degree of respect, there's no limit for what the magician will do. And you know, in some ways, you know, subhanAllah, some of this stuff, some of the worst stuff, you couldn't show it in a masjid. It's that bad. You could not show it in a masjid. Subhanallah, what they would do, pictures of naked women, and they would write Allah where the genitalia of the woman would be. And these pictures are here on the computer, but we're not going to show them in the masjid because we are shy to show this image in the masjid. A picture of a naked woman, and where her genitalia would be is written the name Allah. From a magician who may not have even been a Muslim. As in, may not have even attributed himself to Islam or known Islam. But all of the magicians, when they hear about Islam, they know how to practice their magic in disgracing the Quran and so on and so forth. Let's just have a quick look at a magician in a cave who is practicing his magic and what he does. Again, this magician was caught and he was asked to show the magic that he did. You can see him here with triangles and candles. Candles are another means that the magicians use. He has the candles here. He has circles. He's going to sit himself inside the circle and he's going to burn the candles in order to come close to the shaitan. And he's going to mention the names. And you know what they say they did? They said, we were told to go and sit in the cave. Like this. And we wanted to come close to Allah. They said, say La ilaha illallah 10,000 times at night. So he started, La ilaha illallah, La ilaha illallah, La ilaha illallah. He came back, he said, Shaykh, I couldn't say it 10,000 times. They said, you're not a wali from the awliya of Allah. You're not close enough to Allah. You do it again. He said, I couldn't say, I tried to say La ilaha illallah 10,000 times. Fajr came before. And by the way, he mentioned here when he sits in this cave, he's commanded not to pray. And he's commanded to urinate and defecate in the circle and sit in his own urine and his own feces. While he's lighting the candles and he's asking them to bring them to the shayateen to come. Then what happens, like we said, he sat himself in this circle and he's doing what he's doing with these candles here. You can see him sitting in the middle and he's doing this filth that he's doing. Subhanallah. They tell him to say La ilaha illallah 10,000 times. He says, I can't do it. They say, okay, we'll give you a way that you can do it. Just say who. And this will be La ilaha illallah. So what does he do? Exactly what the mutasawwifa do. He sits in a cave and he says who, until they say, until the revelation of Allah descends upon him. But it's not the revelation of Allah, it's the shayateen. Look at him sitting with his back there uncovered, and he's sitting in worship of the shaitan. This was not a Muslim. This particular one was not a Muslim. He was not the one that was saying Allahu, but this particular one was not a Muslim. But he's doing exactly what the Sufiyyah do, word by word, step by step. Look, read the books of the awliya of the Sufiyyah. What did the awliya of the Sufis do? We went into a cave and we sat in a circle and we began to say Allahu, Allahu, hu, until the shaitan came. Sihr, sihr. Magic, magic. Disgracing the name of Allah, disgracing the name of Allah. And if we want to just have the ultimate one, and wallahi, this is, I suggest if you have a weak stomach that you don't watch this, because this is some of the so-called awliya of Allah. See what they do. Have a look and see what this guy is going to do. The first thing, he's bringing a miskeen who is possessed, and the sheikh is going to cure him by the evil that they do. He's putting a sword into his face. He's just stabbed him in the face with a sword. The sheikh, the so-called pious sheikh, has stabbed this man in the face with a sword. Look at this miskeen man. And this so-called pious, look at them, they're Muslim, they're wearing their Muslim clothes. These people are people who say that they are Muslim. Look at what he's going to do to him. It's not enough. He's got a problem in his stomach. So he's going to stab him in the stomach with the sword. He says he's so pious that he can stab the jinn. And he stabs him in the stomach and in the face. And of course they use a very thin blade that doesn't obviously cause they don't have the ability to heal him. They just use such a thin blade that he misses the major organs, so it doesn't kill him. And then they're reciting over him and they're saying, if he stays like this, the jinn will be cured. Subhanallah, look at what we do. We sit and recite the Quran over a person. Look at what the mutasawwifah, this is one of the major shuyukh of the Sufis. Look at what he does. He says, now you're going to be better. You've been stabbed, now you're going to be better. But that's not the end of it, unfortunately. Lil asaf, that's not the end of it. This is the sheikh. This is the pious sheikh. He has a tube in his stomach. He is extracting feces from his stomach. He's extracting his own material, his own waste material. He's extracting his own waste material. And I want you just to hear. Watch what the man is going to do. Wallahi ya ikhwan, this is the reality of the magician.
Yeah, he ate it.
This is the reality of the magician. This is the holy man from the mutasawwifah, the holy man who is from the greatest awliya of Allah according to them. He takes out feces from his own stomach and the people eat his feces. And they say that this is a wali from the awliya of Allah Azza wa Jal. And the magician does what he does and they come close to the people. Wallah, kufr is one religion, no matter whether they attribute themselves to Islam or not. And remember, it's not enough for the magician to do shirk. It's not enough. Don't make this clear in your mind. It is not enough for the magician to do shirk. The magician has to get the other people to do shirk. Why is that so-called wali such a powerful, so-called powerful sahir? Why? Because look how many followers he has. Look how many people he misguides. How many Muslims come to him for help. That's where he gets his strength from. Not from himself, but from him encouraging other people to worship other than Allah Azza wa Jal. This is about, in reality, this is not the worst of the videos that we have. But we had to set a limit to what we're willing to show here. But there are worse and worse and worse, and some of you will have seen it. Waliyadu billah. And it's absolutely unbelievable. What we're going to do now is we're not even going to take a break. We're just going to fall straight into the final series or the final part, which is regarding the amulets and the talismans and the magical symbols. And we're going to try to, if you like, educate you guys regarding what the amulets and the talismans actually mean and what each of the things in them signify, bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. We're going to start, inshaAllah, at the start, and we're going to try and take as much benefit from the various different slides as we are able to do. We saw on the previous lecture examples of amulets, and there's no doubt that amulets in general, we can divide the rulings of amulets into different types, those that are of the Quran and those that are not of the Quran. As for any amulet that is not of the Quran, if the person believes it benefits them and harms them besides Allah, they leave Islam. And if they believe that it has no benefit to them, but they wear it anyway, then they've committed the worst of the major sins. I.e., they have not reached the level of shirk, but they've committed one of the major sins in terms of an innovation. That's if they don't believe it has any benefit at all. As for that which is of the Quran, the correct opinion is that there is no difference between that which is of the Quran and that which is not of the Quran. And inshaAllah ta'ala we'll post an article on this later on because we are very short on time. Here's an example of hair wrapped up in a kind of like a coil of a rope. Here we have shoes that have the sihr stitched inside of them. Here we have examples of amulets and talismans, and we're going to show some more examples of those later. Here we have some more, and here this was written inside a material and sewn inside women's clothing. So they had a time in Riyadh where what was happening was a number of women were becoming very sick, and they thought that there was a plague, and they traced this plague back. It wasn't a plague, it was a sahir who had sewn magic into a number of abayat. women's abaya, and they had given the abayat and sold them in the market, and so the Hayat al-Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahy anil Munkar were able to go and to recall those things. Have examples of pouches, metal containers, locks and keys that have the magic built into them. Dead birds, dead animals. This is the tooth or the foot of something or other. This is an example of magic that is to be burnt. So it's inside of it, there are papers. Each paper says burn at a certain time. Burn at a certain time. We're going to cover the ruling on that and how to dispose of it in a moment. This is another example of papers that have been opened and what's inside. Notice these symbols and signs. We're going to learn what they mean, insha'Allah ta'ala. The person's name is written here. You see Sa'ad, the person's name is written there, and the person's name is written there, and inside there are each of these symbols. These symbols here have a particular name. They're known as a seal, as in S-E-A-L, a seal, as in a khatam, a seal, something you seal them by. And they're called the seal of the magician. Khatam as-sahir. Khatam as-sahir. An example of incense that is to be burnt and papers that are to be burnt alongside the incense. This is an example of some that are hung. This is an example of papers put in water, and the water is given to a person to drink. And this may be with their knowledge or without their knowledge. They may come to them and say to them, put this paper in, mix it in the water, drink a bit of the water every day. The same things are written just like this, these kind of symbols and signs. And we're going to learn what those symbols and signs mean, insha'Allah ta'ala. This is an example of things which are not sihr, but they are beliefs that people have. You tie a black cloth and it protects your car. You tie something to the front of your car and it protects it from accidents. This is an example of belief that lead people into sihr. These things that are hung from, these are the hands of Fatima. This is an example of sihr sewn into clothing. If one of the brothers could just move the projector slightly so we're catching, because at the moment we're catching a little bit of the left hand side. Just slightly, ever so slightly, so that we catch the middle of it. That's spot on. So there we have clothing that has the sihr and the amulets drawn and stitched into the clothing. Here, this one is stitched into clothing as well. Look at squares, symbols, talismans, amulets, locks. People say, I mean, when you talk about magic developing, magic doesn't really develop in the sense that the same magic is done that has always been done and that was taught and that the people learned. But of course they find new ways to implement it. So instead of tying knots, they may use padlocks. And they will tie the knots around the padlock. So they will tie the padlock, and around the padlock they will tie the requisite number of knots. Eggs. These are eggs that have writing on. These eggs are either to be smashed or they're to be put in a certain place. Every number, the number of eggs and the numbers written on the eggs has a meaning, and we're going to learn it insha'Allah ta'ala. Rings. The inside of that brass ring has got some of the names of the shayateen written inside of it. And we're going to talk about how to destroy that, because you can't burn it, it won't go away. Here we have some incense. This is mixed of various different kinds of incense. Some of it we use in the masjid, and there's nothing wrong with that. But when the incense, there's nothing wrong with the incense that is used when the intention is to perfume. But incense to bring the shaitan, to draw away the shaitan, this is from the types of incense that is used in magic. Birds. Notice here, the bird has the talisman tied to its foot, and it's left to fly in the air, and the person will suffer wherever the bird lands, and however the bird flies, the person will begin to suffer from it. This is the same example of the one that was inserted into the private parts of the woman who is menstruating in order to disgrace the Quran and the speech of Allah Azza wa Jal. The description of the magician is briefly mentioned here. The magician, sitting in places of filth and unclean places, disgracing the Quran, doing immorality, having an evil smell, and so on and so forth. he is appearing to be a pious person, he's eating or devouring the wealth of the people in falsehood, and he's claiming for himself rububiyyah, one of the signs of the magician. And again, you may find these in all magicians, you may find in some magicians. You may not find every description in every magician. This is very, very, very important. This is talking about the stars and astrology. Do not see them as completely separate things. Fortune telling and astrology has a key part to play in regular magic. We're going to see this is the star signs, and each of the star signs is associated with an element of the earth. And I want you to write this down. Each of the star signs is associated with an element of the earth. One of the four elements, sorry. Four elements are earth, fire, air, water. Each star sign is associated with one of those four elements. This is not true. This is all complete rubbish. But this is what the magicians use. Just because you're born in a time when you're supposed to be fiery doesn't mean you're fiery. Alhamdulillah, we don't take these omens. We say, oh Allah, there is no omen except from you, and there is no good except from you, and there is no God worthy of worship except for you. But this is what the magicians do. This is the knowledge they have. They divide people into one of the four elements: earth, fire, air, and water. And they adjust their magic according to the elements. We're going to see how in a moment. Here we have palm reading, reading the tea leaves, another form of fortune telling. Throwing the seeds, seashells. Throw the seashells, however they land, they determine the issue that you're asking about. Date seeds and likewise cardamom seeds. Using them, they throw them, they look at how they make the pattern, and they tell the future from it. Reading sand, pictures in the sand, pictures in the ashes. They burn coal, and they throw the coal over the person, and how it appears, they then say, yes, this is going to happen to you, and that is going to happen to you, and they lie. The candles, white, red, and green. These colors are very significant. They use them regularly. Red associated with love, associated with bringing people together. Bear that in mind. Red is associated with love and with bringing people together, because we're going to cover that in a moment. Yeah, they have white and they have green. These are the star signs according to how the magicians divide them into fire, water, air, and earth. So they divide 3 into fire, and 3 into water, 3 into air, and 3 into earth. These are some of the beliefs people have, the hand of Fatima and so on and so forth. It's not magic in of itself. And this is very important, because many of the amulets you're going to see are not going to be magic of themselves, but they are going to be a means to seek nearness to the shaitan and a means to weaken the person's iman. This hand of Fatima does not contain sihr by the meaning of the word, but what it contains is a belief that this hand will protect you besides Allah Azza wa Jal. Once you believe that, you're open for any magic to attack you, because you no longer have your shield of Tawheed. Here we have some stitched into some fur and material and various other different things. Right, now we begin to understand how the magician writes the amulets. The first thing, guys, I want you to write down: not every magician can write. Not every magician can write and calculate. There are magicians who do things the literate way, and magicians who do things the illiterate way. Okay? So there are magicians that do things by writing, and magicians that do things the simple way, the village way, like they call it. They call them village magicians here in England, the witch of the village or the witch of the town. They don't write, but they have alternatives to the writing. And the alternatives are based on the same system. Here, brothers, you can see a table. And I'll just mention the table quickly to you so that you can, if you don't have it, you can sort of keep it in mind. Alif is equal to 1, Ba is equal to 2, Jim 3, Dal 4, Ha 5, Waw 6, Zai 7, Ha 8, Ta 9, Ya 10, Kaf 20, Lam 30, Mim 40, Noon 50, Sin 60, Ain 70, Fa 80, Sad 90, Qaf 100, Ra 200, Sheen 300, Ta 400, Tha 500, Kha 600, Dhal 700, Dad 800, Dha 900, Ghain 1000. We'll inshallah show you a copy of this later on. Don't worry about it, inshallah. What do the magicians do with this? Why am I telling you this for the first time? I'm not telling you so that you get all amazed about what the magicians do, or so that you say, oh, at least now I have a backup career if my existing career fails. No. I'm telling you so that you can understand what these things mean. These ta'aweedh, these circles with these numbers in, what they mean. This is what they mean. What is your proof, O Muhammad? Are you reading books of the magicians again? No, 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 no. My proof is from Ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhuma, that Ibn Abbas said, there are a people who write abajad. Alif, ba, jim, dal. Abjad, hawaz. Abjad, hawaz, hutti, kallim. There are a people who write abajad. Look at the knowledge of Ibn Abbas. Look at how he understands. A people who write abajad. They write abjad, hawaz, hutti, kallim. And then so on and so forth. So the first row, abjad, hawaz, hutti, kallimn. People who write abajad. What do they do with abajad? They look up in the stars. What did he say? ينظرون في النجوم ما أرى من فعل ذلك له عند الله من خلاق. I do not believe that this person has any reward in the sight of Allah Azza wa Jal for anything that they do. Subhanallah. What is this action Ibn Abbas is describing? Abjad, and then looking at the stars. This is the essence of what the magicians do to perform their magic. Ibn Abbas understood the essence of what the magicians do to perform their magic. What do? The first thing they do is they take your name, and what do they take along with it? Your mother's name. Your name and your mother's name. Your name and your mother's name. And between the two, they write bin, ba, noon, not ibn, bin, ba, noon. Girl, boy, they don't care. Magicians don't recognize male and female in this regard. Everyone, male or female, they write bin, ba, noon. So they write your name, bin, and then your mother's name, whether you're male or female. What do? For each letter, they calculate its value. For each letter, they calculate its value. So bin, for example, I think is 52. And they add that on, they add them all together, and they come up with a number. So let's just look as an example of someone who doesn't exist. Muhammad ibn Aisha. Muhammad ibn Aisha. Someone get their phone out, get their calculators out. Muhammad ibn Aisha. Muhammad. They take the meme. Where's the meme on there? 40. Put 40 down. Then they take the ha, 8. It's 48. Then they take the meme, that's 40, so we have 88. Then they take the dal, and that's 4, which gives us 92. Then they add 52 for bin. Okay? So now we have 144. Then they take Aisha, Ain, 70. Alif and Hamza, they do exactly the same. So 1 for the A, 1. Okay, so 71. And then they take the Hamza again, another 1. A-I, Hamza again, another 1. And then they take the Sheen, which is 300. And then they take the Ha, Ta marbuta, which is the Ha, which is 5. Anyone add those up? 521. Add that to 144. Do we say 144? What do you get? 665. So the number that is produced by the magician for Muhammad ibn Aisha, 665. What does the magician do? He continues to divide it by 12 until he gets a number between 1 and 12. He continues to divide it by 12 until he gets a number that produces a number between 1 and 12. So the first time he divides it, what does he get? You divide 665 by 12, what do you get? 55. Then he divides it again by 12. 4.6. 6 and above, not 5 and above, 6 and above, they round up. 5 and below, they round down. 6 and above, they round it up. So what do they get? 5. So here we have this miskeen person who the person is going to do sihr on them. He has the number 5. And then they go back to the chart of the elements. And they begin to count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And they come up, they start, it's not clear on the picture, we'll show you in a moment where they start. And they come to 5. 5, they come up with it and they say, for example, I'll give you an example. They say, it's difficult to see on there. They say that 5 is, maybe that says earth, I can't see, it's very, very difficult to see. In any case, they say earth. What are they going to do when they come up with earth? Who knows? What are they going to do when they come up with earth? What are they going to do with the ta'weez? Bury it in the ground, bury it in the grave, bury it in the soil. This was found buried partially in the soil. Why is it buried in the soil? Because the calculation of the person it worked out as was turabi, someone who was a soil person, an earth person, or in the sand or in the grave. If they're a person of fire, what are they going to do with it? Put bukhur, put incense and burn it. If they're a person of water, what are they going to do with it? Put it in water, in the sewer, in the toilet, in the water, in the sea, in the river. If they, and so on and so forth. If they're a person of air, what did we see in the previous videos? The bird, or hang it on a tree so that it blows in the wind. This is the action of the magicians. And I'm just giving you a brief overview. There's more to learn than that, but that gives you a brief overview. This set of numbers is very important for deciphering the ta'weed. You can open the ta'weed, and the numbers refer to names and they refer to names and they refer to letters. So we can take these corners that have the numbers in and we can say the first number that we have is the number 1. So this is a number 1 is an alif or a hamza. And then after that, these are somewhat difficult to read because we were arguing over what the numbers were. We have what I think is an 8. So we have a ha, or it may be a 6, which is a waw. And then they have at the front what looks like a 7, which is a zai. So they have here zah or zaw, depending on whatever they're writing. These are names of the shayateen that they come to see close to the shaitan in. Every ta'weed, take this number chart, start decoding it. Sometimes there are number charts that are different from this one. We're going to look at some of them, but as you learn, you'll learn more. Don't go around asking people for their names and their mother's names so you work out whether they're buried in the earth. They'll think you're a magician. But just in general, it gives you, it just gives you an idea. Sometimes the magician gets it wrong. It's said in a weak narration, and Allah Azza wa Jal knows best, in a weak narration, that the Labid ibn al-A'sam calculated Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam's name wrong. He calculated as Muhammad ibn Halima and not Muhammad ibn Amina. It's said in a weak narration. Weak narration, it's not authentic. If that's true, they said that's why the sihr didn't work. And Allah Azza wa Jal knows best, and it didn't work because Allah Azza wa Jal didn't will it to work. But it is genuinely true that there are times when the magician gets it completely wrong. But in general, this is how they do their work. These are what the numbers mean in general. We went to Cornwall, we found the same numbers in the English Museum with the English equivalents. A was 1, B was 2, J or C was 3, D was 4, H was 5, W was 6. So on and so forth. The same numbers, the same codes written. One of them we found the same names of the shayateen that are written in this ta'weed here. we found the same names written on top of male genitalia with blood dropping out of it in a Dutch magician's house. Never seen, heard of Islam. And he writes the names of the shayateen, the same names, and he writes them in this to cause the person not to be fertile, to cause the person to become infertile. So he wrote it a male genitalia, and inside he wrote the same 9 boxes, and in each one he wrote a code, the same thing here, one of the names of, or 3 of the names of the shayateen, in order to bring them near to the shaitan.